I received a question today through my YouTube channel about how to handle other people's pain body. And in reflecting upon that, I was thinking about how pain body and how to deal with it in others is really not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. I came up with 5 different types of manifestation of pain body, and I'll talk about how to handle each one. The 5 types are conscious, self-punishing, avoidant, passive-aggressive, and aggressive. So, I'll try to address those in order. Conscious pain body is very easy to deal with. In this case, somebody is allowing themselves to feel the pain body as it comes up without judgment, without projecting it outwards, without feeling defeatist about it or victimized by it. They're just allowing it, and as Eckhart Tolle would say, transmuting it into consciousness. So handling pain body by just feeling it, accepting it, moving through it. If somebody's handling their pain body in that way, if they're handling it consciously, well, dealing with them is pretty easy because they're taking ownership of what they're experiencing. And so in that case, just congratulate them on how well they're handling a difficult feeling. And the next type, self-punishing. In this case, if somebody is self-punishing when their pain body arises through, they might have suicidal thoughts, depressive thoughts, feeling victimized and overwhelmed by life. If these are the kind of responses to pain body that they have, in that case I have empathy for them, and I try to help them to redirect their energy in a conscious direction. If they are feeling overwhelmed by life and feeling that when their pain comes up that they can't handle it and everything is horrible. You know, I've had that myself quite a bit, and so I can really empathize with it, and just I found personally that trying to deal with it more consciously requires a willingness to feel it and to not take the pain body very personally, and to not feel that it is something that is a sign that your life is horrible. Because when you're in pain, that's what your mind is going to do. That's what all minds do in pain. Everything becomes pain. Everything becomes just, horrible and unmanageable. And so if somebody has a tendency when they're pain, and of course, I'm talking about 5 different types. Our pain body can come up in all of these different types or other kind of crafty ways, but if someone has a tendency towards this or is experiencing a self-punishing pain body, I like to help them redirect their thoughts about it towards a more positive perspective, a more empowered perspective. Avoidant is the 3rd type, and somebody who's avoidant in response to their pain body, they might feel like, I can't deal with anyone right now because I'm too upset, and they're just going to make me feel more upset, or I don't want to be seen in this light. I feel embarrassed by my pain. I don't want to put fuel on the fire by dealing with whatever pain is coming up for me. Maybe I have unfinished business with the other person that arises when I feel my pain body, but I'm conflict avoidant and I don't want to deal with the pain, and I don't want to deal with the relationship, so I just avoid that person. Now, if someone's doing that, then you can bring consciousness to the situation by spelling it out. Say what you're seeing. Say, it seems like you're avoiding me. Am I correct? It seems like you're withdrawing. Maybe, is it true when you are in pain you tend to withdraw from people? So bringing consciousness to the situation can help to help the person understand what they're doing through being avoidant. And if they're not responding to it or they're in denial, then sometimes you just have to step back and not try to force the issue, not try to pry them open if they're clammed shut. Eventually they may choose to open up again and come around, so to speak, but if somebody wants to withdraw and be avoidant, then that's what they're going to do. And if you can't bring consciousness into it, you have to accept it. Another type, the fourth type, is passive-aggressive pain body. Now, these tend to be situations in which somebody realizes they would like to be aggressive because the pain body is coming up and they're angry at others. They're not taking ownership for the life that they've created. They're not owning their feelings, their emotions, and just being present with them. So they're wanting to project it outwards in an aggressive form, but they know, they're smart enough to know that if they are aggressive, they're not, people that in their life aren't going to put up with that. And so it seeps out. Passive aggressiveness can manifest through somebody withholding information or lying, gossiping, kind of putting out nonverbals that communicate displeasure with another person but not really communicating it directly. Basically dancing around their anger and it seeping out slowly but subtly in a way that the other person can't say, that's unfair to me, you're treating me unfairly. And this can be a difficult thing to deal with if you're dealing with somebody who, in response to their pain that's arising, is acting passive aggressively, because you can doubt yourself. You can say, well, am I perceiving this person correctly? Because I get a negative feeling, I get a bad feeling from this person, so I'm not sure really what's going on. So bringing consciousness to this kind of situation means communicating directly with that person and saying what you're feeling from that person, even if it's not overt, even if it's not obvious the way that person is communicating their pain, letting it be known that you're feeling something from that person and that maybe they can then take ownership of the pain that's coming up for them and process through it directly by feeling it and becoming more aware through taking ownership of their pain. The fifth type is aggressive pain body. Now, there's degrees of aggression. There's someone shouts and calls you names and is kind of emotionally, verbally aggressive, and at that point you have to think, well, how much do I have invested in this relationship? If you just meet somebody on the street and they start doing that, you're probably not going to want to work through that with that person. If it's somebody that you have a lot of energy invested in and generally have a positive connection, then you might want to work through that level of aggression. There's an interesting perspective from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, in which he talks about in relationships there are deposits and withdrawals. You make deposits through positive interactions and choices in relationships, and you build up an account, so to speak, with that person. And then when you take a withdrawal in terms of wanting something in return or asking for something, then if you have deposited enough, then that's okay to make a withdrawal. But if you haven't deposited enough, then you're overdrawn, and that pretty much ruins the relationship. And that's the case with somebody that has an aggressive pain body, that anybody in long-term relationships tends to have their fights every now and then, their squabbles, and if it doesn't cross a certain line in terms of physical violence or other kinds of very intense, hurtful, aggressive acts, if it's on that level of emotional, verbal kind of aggression, then you might still feel that there's enough there to invest in if the person is willing to take ownership of what came out of them in terms of their pain and what their pain led to. If they can take ownership and apologize and be willing to work on that, then that's something that you can still work through. But if they cross a certain line, I think that if somebody is violent and, or has a kind of persistent and consistent attack mode and aggression that comes out of them, even if it's like a consistent verbal attack and so forth, you can spell out that their pain body is acting out in that way. That doesn't mean they're necessarily going to change that. And so in these cases, I think it's best to part ways. And, if the person is in an aggressive attack mode, they're not going to be open to any kind of reason. When they calm down, eventually, you can tell them, this is what I'm sensing from you. I'm sensing you're in a lot of pain and you want to take it out on other people. You need to get help with that. You need to work on that. But I'm not going to expose myself to that anymore because I respect myself and I feel that my life has value, so I'm not going to expose myself to ongoing aggression and attack and so forth. So in the case of an aggressive pain body, there are degrees, but you have to decide for yourself how much are you going to put up with, because if the other person is not conscious of where their aggression is coming from and they have deep-seated pain that is just going to continue to come out, you're not really helping them by sticking around. People are going to continue to get the lessons that they need even after you depart. Even if you're not in that person's life, they're going to find a way to deal with it or end up in prison or end up dead. Something's going to happen in their life, but the most you can do is spell out what you're seeing and then take care of yourself by not exposing yourself to aggression. So as you can see, there's a wide range of pain bodies and how they manifest, and it's ultimately up to us to do the work to move towards greater consciousness. Our goal for all of us should have the goal of handling it consciously, so that we can move through it quickly in a way that doesn't hurt ourselves, doesn't add to more pain in our lives or more pain in the lives of others. But, almost everybody has pain bodies, with the exception of some enlightened folks like Eckhart Tolle. Virtually all of us, 99.9999 whatever percent have pain body. So by understanding how to deal with it in others, it can also help us to understand how to deal with it within ourselves when it arises, and help us understand that we're all trying to just get to that point where we can feel it, observe it, witness the pain, not judge it, and allow it to be transmuted. Because when we do move through the pain, we become more aware and we become more clear about who we are and what our lives are about.